I'm Freya.
And I'm Nick.
You're listening to Humaning with a Difference.
So, Nick.
Freya.
How are you today?
Yeah, I'm doing okay, I think.
That's good.
Overall, I'm looking forward to our little session.
Yes. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm well. I've been a bit... it's just been a flurry of activity today, so
Excellent.
I feel like it's nice to be sitting in the studio with you and I'm just feeling grounded now, just sitting down and, getting centered. Because we are talking about a big topic today, the topic of networking and building connections in community with low vision and blindness.
Such an interesting area, isn't it? And for so many people, and in an area that sometimes people find harder than others.
Yeah, absolutely. And for myself, I have definitely found, and because also my vision loss has been progressive over time, I've definitely felt the awkwardness and the frustration of not necessarily feeling like I have as much agency to recognize people or be like, oh, there's that person who said something interesting earlier and I'd like to go and have a conversation with them or even thank them for what they shared, like that.
Absolutely.
I feel like I don't have that ability. And yet I think it's also kind of forced me to, I think, develop other people's strengths. But I'm interested to hear from you, Nick, because I know that you're established and well known in the low vision and blind community, and I just have so much respect for everything you've done and achieved. And I know that these sorts of achievements that you have don't happen without good networking and community building.
Thank you. And I must say that I think that each person has their own abilities and capacity but if I can assist other people and maybe growing their confidence and sharing some of the, I suppose, challenges and some of the strategies around networking and being more comfortable with, especially in a public setting where there's a lot of uncertainty, yes, it'd be my pleasure.
Yeah, well, thank you. And just to add that tonight we're, of course, heading to an event, a sort of thank you event for people associated with a human rights body. We won't say which one, but we'll keep this anonymous. We are heading to a networking event, so we have a little kind of playground and practice ground for some of the tips and tricks you'll be sharing, and also, we can report back on what helps, what doesn't, how we make it fun, how we get creative with it. So, that's kind of what's in store for the episode. But so to start us off, Nick, tell me a little bit about your experience of networking and building relationships, whether that be friendships or professional, romantic, whatever comes to mind.
I think for me, it really is a broad area. However, it is building my confidence, and was really stepping out of my comfort zone at times. So, for instance, at a networking function that we attending this evening, once upon a time I would, if I had a chair at a table, or I probably wouldn't even move, and I'd probably just remain there and rely on people coming up to me. But then with experience, and I then decided myself to just get up and go for a walk. Let's see what happens if I just get up and walk. I'll find someone and find people and maybe interrupt conversation, but maybe they will include me as well. So that's what I I started to do, not just at say, network functions, but if I went to a marriage celebration, at a reception, I couldn't stand. I can't really bear just to sit in the same chair for a long period of time. So I just have to stand up, and if I'm standing up, I may as well at least walk to the next table and introduce myself. And I've learned too that quite often people who are sighted are faced with the same challenge, that they are afraid to even move around and to share and talk and introduce. So that made me feel a bit better in the sense that it's not just people who are blind and vision impaired who are faced with the challenge, that a lot of people are faced with a similar challenge.
Yeah, that's really interesting, and I think you're right. I think social anxiety as well is very common, and certainly I have felt like I experienced social anxiety. But again, it's hard to separate that from the experience of having low vision or not being able to recognize people or see who's in the room. But just responding to what you shared, Nick, I'm interested. So you mentioned that at first, I guess when you were a young adult, that you would sort of be at a function and just stay put, stay where someone, I guess, showed you to sit. And would people come up to you then, or would you be sort of more or less just sitting there absorbing the noise?
Quite often I think I was just left sitting there. So I may have the occasional person who came up, and going back to people who have sight, I think what they can do is maybe preoccupy themselves by looking around or picking up something and reading something. For me, as a younger person, I didn't have that opportunity to do that type of preoccupation or appear to be preoccupied. So I found that was my level of social anxiety that occurred, and it was a matter of just trying to deal with that. And I still do have my moments of social anxiety. It's not like it works every time. It's still anxiety. I imagine tonight even there will be definitely moments like, oh my goodness, where do I go now? And do I remember the way back to where I was originally seated or standing or that type of thing? So, but the alternative is just sit down and do nothing, or get up and try it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you never know who you might meet.
Yeah, and I can absolutely relate to the feeling of just deciding that I'll just stay somewhere because that's easier and safer, but then feeling kind of sometimes very isolated in a crowd, which I think is much harder than being at home alone. But yeah, so I'm fascinated about these walks that you decided to take, because obviously that's pretty unpredictable, isn't it? You don't know who you're going to be running into or stopping to talk to, or, as you mentioned, interrupting. So what was that experience like, and how did you learn to make the choice to do that again and again? I think for me it was through frustration. So it was purely through frustration. I'm like, no, I'm not going to really sit here any longer. I'm going to either get up and move around or go home. That was my choice that I ended up. And I decided to move around. And it is challenging. I'd like to get your thoughts around this, because I think one of the fears we have is interrupting people. And when you have sight, you can, I assume you can see when people are deep in conversation with each other, and when might be a more appropriate time to approach someone and introduce yourself, but we don't have that capacity like other people. So it is really diving into the unknown. How do you feel about that? Yeah, no, I mean, I completely agree. And I think sometimes you can end up in a great conversation, but I also don't want to kind of do a bypass here, because I also feel like I've definitely encountered a lot of those moments where I'm like, oh, I'll just join a group. And I obviously have more sight than you, so I can see enough to see there's a cluster of shapes that are most likely people. Speaking shapes that are speaking English. So I'll just go and kind of, sort of hustle my way in. But then, that feeling of like, then the conversation just falls silent and you're like, oh shit, now I have to be the conversation starter, I guess. So just... So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like there's quite a lot of awkwardness. I guess what I'm trying to get at is that I have encountered a lot of awkwardness in those situations. And I'm wondering, how do you deal with the inevitable awkwardness of this method that you're describing?
It really depends on the situation. I mean, I've had awkward times. Say I reflect with my son when he was a young boy playing sport, and I often share the story of going to watch him play cricket, and I'd take my fold-up chair because I under the impression that that's what dads did, and I'd turn up with him at the cricket field, and I was shown to where best to put my fold down my seat. I sat there and Peter went to play cricket, and 3 hours later came back and not one person had approached me.
Wow.
So that was... So my initial thought was, I just don't want to come back. I really feel excluded.
Yes.
But I decided, and possibly I spoke to one or two people, that I would approach the president of the club, and I explained to him what had happened, and he chatted with the parents and explained that I didn't want anyone to sit with me the whole game, but to at least come up and say hello and maybe spend a couple of minutes with me and maybe describe a ball or two being delivered and share some time. And if they felt comfortable, to actually invite me to join in their group. And the result was fantastic.
Wow.
Within a month or two, I was very much part of the social group. Matter of fact, they were almost fighting over who would be describing the game.
Wow.
So that strategy worked. I don't guarantee it works every time, but on this particular occasion with the president, I'm not sure what he said or done to them, but they responded really well.
Gosh, Nick, I love that story. Honestly, I actually felt myself getting emotional as you were describing that, because it's such an example of, I suppose your courage and your perseverance to actually not let, I suppose, what could be that sense of exclusion to get the better of you. Like, there's immense strength in that, and I can certainly relate as a parent as well. I don't think I was as proactive as you were, and I really have so much respect for that. And the other thing that comes to me from that story is actually also the power of being really honest and authentic, because I think what my tendency to do in those sorts of situations is either to retreat or, to kind of be prideful. I don't know, like not prideful in a, but just sort of be like, oh, well, this isn't for me. I don't want to do this anyway. Or, you know what I mean?
I do, yeah. And that has happened to me. I've had the same feelings myself.
Yeah.
It's not like I've had all these instant results playing and not sure. You feel a bit useless, you feel a bit, no, maybe I'm not really capable of talking to people. So it happens to us, doesn't it?
Yeah, and feeling unwanted as well in a group or a community. And I think I'm honestly still navigating this in some mainstream kind of able-bodied communities that I'm in, like the dance community, where I think it takes people quite a while to understand even that I can't necessarily see them or recognize them or know who it is just because they come up and say hi. Sometimes people will actually come up and give me a hug but won't say who they are, and I'll just be like, oh, it's nice to receive a hug that's right. From a fellow human, but I don't know who that was. And I think it's this awkwardness of, well, when is a good moment to explain one's needs and one's situation. And I think because of my upbringing, because of the conditioning that I had, I really had to work hard to be more upfront about my disability and my needs when it comes to connecting and building relationships in communities. So I really appreciate you sharing some of your strategies. And I'm wondering, so you move in a lot of different circles. So do you have other examples of things you've done? Like if you were to go to a networking event, are there, apart from sort of just taking a walk and seeing what happens, which I love because it's like, in a way, it's also, to me, it strikes me as a surrender. Like whatever will be. And I'm just going to walk and see what unfolds or see who presents themselves in my path. But do you have sort of other strategies or examples of how that's gone?
I think there's a couple of things. One is my strategy of walking around does involve quite a lot of concentration. So although it's effective and I find beneficial, it is really take oneself out of your comfort zone and quite challenging. These days, a lot of times I will, through the NDIS, have a support person with me, and that is quite enabling in the sense that now I can ask the person I'm with, who's assisting me, to show me to an individual that I might want to catch up with, or they will equip me with so much more information. It could be about the room, about the people, what they're wearing, what the PowerPoint is saying and doing, all those things. A support person will really be a huge benefit. There's so many different things they can do. So keeping in mind a support person can be of great benefit. Yeah. I also think too that we're at a stage in our culture that we can be a bit upfront with those who are organising an event or an organisation and explain to them what our personal need is. So if you know there's an event coming up, or if you're going dancing or whatever, sporting, to even give them, they may not have even thought of what's involved. They're busy doing other things. So just a bit of pre-planning can sometimes help. And I probably should do that more myself. But I find that does help when I do it. Sometimes I can find out things prior to arrival and even suggest that this can help. I do find, just whilst I remember too, that sometimes people, when you're blind, sometimes others, they may hold very senior positions, and regardless of that, I find it really quite almost offensive that they walk straight past someone, like say you, and they know you, and they might be CEO or whatever they are, and not stop and at least say hello, and if you know them, and that can happen quite often too. They almost avoid having to say hello with the understanding that you can't see them and it doesn't really matter. So I think people need to understand it does matter, and it is important for them in their roles, especially in leadership roles, that they do introduce themselves, especially to those who may not have the sight to actually see where they are. And I find that really good leaders will do that.
Yes, absolutely. I love that you say that, Nick. I really love that. And another thing I find on that is people saying their names when they come up and say hi, or when they speak at a meeting, because otherwise it can be so awkward. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, and sorry, 5 minutes in, who are you?
Absolutely.
Because it does take a long time to recognize voices. It's much more nuanced. Or some voices are instantly, you'll never forget them. But a lot of voices, it's more subtle, I think, than recognizing people visually.
Yeah. One of the techniques I do when I do my presentations, depending on the size of the group, so if it's sort of 20 or less, often I'll start my presentation by going around and asking each person to introduce themselves by name and possibly by what their role is, and then I'll ask them, why is that important for me? And then I will ensure that things such as, now I know who is in the room, now I know I have a great idea of who's sitting where, and as a presenter trainer, I will jokingly end up by saying, now I know who to pick on. But the reality is that technique is painting the picture for me and allowing me to have a greater understanding of my audience. So that's something I often do when it comes to engaging and communicating with people that are in front of me in a presentation setting.
Yes. Yeah. No, that's great. Those are really good tips. And another thing you said earlier as well that I wanted to add to was what you mentioned about support, having a support person, which is so immensely helpful. And the other thing I love, I don't know how you feel, but sometimes if you're in a very mainstream space or an able-bodied space, is that I notice a huge difference when I have someone else with me with a disability. Like, right. I feel just so much solidarity and just less alone. Like, I think there's a particular loneliness that I can sometimes feel if I'm the only person from disability community in a space. Yeah. So I really relish that, and I love the solidarity that I feel with other people from the disability community and how much fun we can have. Like, even, when you and I go out, or other people who I go out with who have low vision or are blind, we can have so much fun, and what can feel quite arduous or heavy to navigate alone, even if there's two of us and neither of us can see any better than the other, it's still somehow, because you're not in it alone, it can become something fun rather than, oh God, not That's again. Right. Well,
if you're going to get lost, you might as well get lost together than being on your own, don't you think?
Yes, and have a good laugh and marvel at the adventure.
Yeah, that's right. I totally understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, but the other thing is, I'm wondering, the other threads that I wanted to pick up on was how you mentioned, the initiative you took when watching your son's cricket games, and how that was really driven out of, frustration and exclusion. And I love how even those negative experiences, and I reflect a lot on this in my own life, can really be fuel for possibility and growth and learning and sharing and sort of bringing more light actually into community and onto earth, just by sort of even being fueled by negative feelings or experiences sometimes.
I think the key word there, and I'd love your opinion, but community. I know you're very big on and love the thought of a healthy, inclusive community. And I totally, I love a close community, and my local community is very inclusive. They say hello nearly every fifth step I take, and it's like, and that's really wonderful that we all feel part of this local community. And what's your feelings on that, Freya?
Yeah, well, I'm just reflecting on when I had lunch with you in your local community, and I absolutely noticed that. I haven't actually established the same thing in my local community. Maybe it's a bit more disparate or dispersed. It's very high density, but there are people in the shops who know me and will definitely help me out, and always, really emphasize that if I need a hand to find anything, or I need a hand with, the self-checkout, they'll help me, so it's like there's that, like there is some but I think maybe there's too many people, or there are a lot of high-rises, so there's a bit of anonymity as well in my community. But I wonder what helped you cultivate that in your local community.
I think it's possibly it's like the shops are on a street, so it's not a Westfield, a huge shopping complex, so less thousands of people sort of coming and going. So you have a smaller number of people who get to know each other. Quite often I'll come across the people who are having coffee outside the cafe that they come to each day or each Saturday, or I have a seeing eye dog, and often that will be a talking point. And then it's a bit of a matter of introducing oneself, saying who I am, and what's your name, and even being a bit proactive. If you see me around, say hello, but maybe say your name so I remember, and just being a little bit aware of trying to help them, to encourage them to be interactive.
Yeah.
I think sometimes for them they really appreciate it because you're giving them permission to communicate.
Yes. Yeah, that's such a good point. That's really wow, it's so valuable. It's so valuable for me to hear that, and I'm sure it's valuable for the audience as well, especially maybe the audience with low vision or blindness. I do have another sort of some more quick fire questions. Do you have particular, if you're again going on this walk at an event where you don't know who or what you'll encounter, which I understand might be a bit less frequent now that the NDIS is here, but what do you have some conversation tips, like for people who are wanting to start, meaningful and engaging conversation? Do you have particular conversation starters or icebreakers that you like to use?
I think it does depend on the setting and the audience, the people in that situation. So recently I was at a disability expo, and that was a little easier in the sense that I felt very comfortable talking to people about where they're from as part of the disability sector is concerned. So learning more about them. I think, and I noticed this with you, Freya, is that having questions is a great way. So having questions that you can ask them, so that you can ask them questions. It might be something about, just interested in what your job role might be, or it really does depend on each individual situation.
Yes. Yeah, I hear you, and I'm very curious, but I'm also very comfortable asking questions, as you can probably tell. But also, I think the question matters, and I have a bit of a different opinion for you on the job role,
right? Because
I think
too much.
Well, I think the question, "What do you do?" is out. And I wonder if for me that's quite closely related, unless you're at a very much an industry event, or like you said, the expo, and everyone's there for a very specific reason. But I've listened to some, networking conversation things, and I've heard that, asking kind of questions about people's deeper experience. So what are you passionate about right now?
I think it's a great question.
What's good in your life right now? Or they're all very positive questions, but or I'll ask you this question, Nick, and you can answer. We'll do a little role play.
Okay.
How's your heart?
Well, physically, from an assessment medical perspective, I think my heart is quite broad. But as far as from an emotional perspective, I think it's even better. So that doesn't mean that I have moments where my heart is not so good, but most of the time my heart is very cheerful and expressive and enthusiastic to enjoy life. So I think that, and your heart?
Yeah, my heart is good. My heart is feeling very alive. I feel like it feels like it's really been thawing. I feel like my heart was a bit frozen for a few years in my marriage. But as you know, I've been separated from my husband for about a year. And my heart is slowly thawing. I feel like I'm waking up and I feel like my whole being is sort of thawing out, and I'm really coming back alive. And I feel very lit up and very grateful a lot of the time for all of the opportunities and abundance and privilege I have. But I'm also making sure that I stay alive to the challenges and the sadness. I had a wave of sadness last night because I had to set a boundary again with my husband, and that was hard, and there was sadness in that. But I'm learning, my heart is also learning to hold kind of joy and grief at the same time, like learning to hold opposites at the same time.
It sounds like it's been quite an adjustment. Do you think?
Yeah, it has been a huge adjustment. Like, I mean, living alone with low vision, having not lived alone with low vision actually most of my life, because, you know, I had another partner, I had my son, and then I had this marriage, and yeah, so it's been my first year living alone, and then, you know, got bed bugs 3 times. So a lot of challenge, but I think sometimes challenge is good. Like, speaking of, you know, being in the zone, like sometimes facing challenges and taking them head on and getting through them, even if, you know, there's moments where you feel like you can't or you're going to lose your mind, getting through it and getting out on the other side. I feel really quite strong and inspired and alive, and yeah, just no regrets.
And do you think giving yourself permission to be sad and to not always be positive, because I think sometimes, do you think that's important, to give yourself permission to, or allow yourself to be sad, because life can be quite challenging?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm a huge believer in feeling all of our feelings, and also that emotions are energy. So if you ignore an emotion, it just kind of stagnates. I actually practice emotional alchemy and transmute emotions, which might be another podcast topic for another day, because it's a big one. But really kind of, I really believe in feeling grief and rage when they come up or when they're present, and even setting aside time to even tap into that, and then letting it move through and turn into, you know, erotic energy, or, you know, turn on. Or it's sort of like, you know, the tantric beliefs around that nothing in life is bad or unholy. It's all kind of energy and it's all divine. So yeah, I definitely believe that's my long answer.
I love that word energy. I think energy is such a huge... No, even sitting here talking to you, there's a very strong energy. There's an energy flow and I don't even know, I haven't really read much about this, but I often find that with people that I connect with, that there is an energy flow that enables people to communicate and to relate. And sometimes you have to work a bit harder on finding it, but it is there. If you can tap into their energy, that can be a really great way of communicating.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And that makes me think of intuition as well, and the role that intuition plays in networking and building connection and finding the people who resonate with you, you know? That's
right. I think that's... And people make decisions, and I'd be very much interested in what you think. As I've grown older and hopefully a bit wiser and maturer, that I am a bit more selective of how I spend my time, and I value my time even more. So if I'm not really in a very happy, comfortable space, it doesn't mean I've got to remain there, but I can make a decision to either go home or go out or do something. So I try to be more in touch with what I'm feeling and doing.
I love that. And that's just something I'm learning as well, is sometimes, you know, someone can be perfectly lovely and perfectly like saying all the right things, but it's just like, you know, a feeling of just discordance or misalignment, or there's just some kind of sense of that this isn't really a vibe for me, and that's okay. And yeah, as you say, honoring that, leaving, or even not investing too much in connections that don't feel nourishing. And that doesn't need to mean anything about the other person or about me, but it's just like, well, this just isn't very fruitful, and my time and energy could be spent elsewhere with connections where it does feel fruitful and aligned. And like you say, I feel that energy between us and other people as well. And I think, once you learn to tune into, well, where there's a good vibe, where there's, you know, generative energy, then it can become easier and easier to have a good social and working life.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
But I am thinking as well, because we are heading to this event tonight in mainstream community. It's not a disability event, but it'll be you, me, and my friend Janelle, who's another woman with a visible disability. So yeah, I'm excited to see how our spontaneous walks through the room go, and also how our conversation starters go. Absolutely. And what energy resonance we pick up or not with people.
And I'm going to definitely keep in mind some of the advice you gave around what's your passion, and I'll think of some other things, some really good questions that I can add to my repertoire of talking to people, and I think it makes a big difference. I know I did, going slightly off course, I attended a staff end of year function last year, and the staff I don't know that well, but what I decided was I was going to ask people that I felt comfortable, even the CEO, I asked if they wanted to, at this function, share 2 positive childhood experiences. And it went down really well. I was fascinated. The CEO told me some fabulous story about her when she was 10 and how she overcome fear and she achieved, and that helped her to move on. And others told me different stories around their positivity and what changed their lives as young adults. And so I think you made me think of that when you said, what's your passion?
Yeah.
Think of people are quite willing to share things that they're comfortable or that are positive.
Yes.
I like the thought when you said, what's your job? It's not a great question, because I do actually feel uncomfortable, because sometimes I have to ask that question and they say, oh, well, I don't work. And then it's like, or it's like goes flat. I'm sorry about that. But
sorry to make you feel inadequate there. Yeah.
I heed your advice on that one. I'm not going to ask them what they do for their job tonight.
But I was thinking as well, I was thinking about, this, I love your example as well about what are 2 really nice childhood memories that you have, and just these questions that are sort of unusual and take people by surprise.
I think that's it.
But and really force them to even think in a different way, and then share more deeply, because it's how you establish connection, right, is by sharing more deeply, not just the weather's crap.
That was at a very sort of end of year social so it wasn't really work related as such. There are questions that come to mind that are appropriate and relevant.
Okay.
Having said that, I think I do think there will be times where social anxiety will kick in tonight as well, because the reality is that when you have a disability and vision loss is at times challenging, it's really going to be perfect.
No, that's true. And going back to what you asked me about the negative feelings and maybe feeling the energy of anxiety and nervousness, that's an energy as well, right? That's energy that can be used, just like you used your energy of frustration or the feeling of being excluded to actually make something, revolutionary happen at your kids' cricket game. So I think that's amazing. So even the negative experiences can become fuel for good, but of course that's in divine time, like not always straight away, not telling people to just get over it and push through. Not at all. I'm definitely a believer in being gentle with ourselves as well, and honouring the difficulty, right? The difficulty of being a minority, of being often misunderstood, of often, being, not being, it's not a level playing field, and being disadvantaged in some ways. So certainly honouring the challenge of that as well. But going back to the thought-provoking questions, I thought of one actually while you were speaking that I might use tonight.
Oh, okay.
No, we can both use it. Where does your passion for human rights stem from?
I like it.
Yeah.
It's definitely I'm noting that down, definitely.
And the other thing that I'm thinking is I've been hearing a lot lately of the power of intention. So I thought we could both set an intention for tonight's event, and yeah, we can report back afterwards and see whether our intention was manifest. So I'll start and give you some time to think. But I think my intention for tonight is to have a meaningful, enlightening, or inspiring conversation with 3 people I don't know. And overall, to be inspired and stimulated.
I like it.
And sorry, also with a really healthy dash of fun.
With fun, I like that. Well, my intention would be to, I think you've set the bar at 3, so I think 3 is reasonable for me. If I can get to 3 meaningful conversations where I've learnt something about someone else and feel as if they've added value to my life, and hopefully that I'm able to share with them, would be a really good success for me. And I like the idea of fun, if that's possible. I'm not quite sure how I would include fun to it, but you've given me food for thought on what I might be able to do. So I may have to work on that one. And maybe a goal of mine is to have 2 further connections, networking connections that can be followed up later. So something, I'll have my business card, I've got my business cards, so it might be an opportunity to exchange that, and with the intention of, let's be in touch with each other if we can assist each other or add value to what we're doing.
I like that. That's a good one. I should maybe adopt that one. Now we're just copying each other's, but
that's good.
I don't have business cards at the moment. I did have some and I didn't like them because
I can give you mine if you like.
I'll say you can follow up with my manager, Nick.
That's right.
With my agent.
That's right.
Yeah, no, I will. I will actually do that, because then I can just say it's a message for Freya. Yeah, that sounds good. And I'll help you out with the fun, because I think you, Janelle, and I, we'll have fun.
Okay, that's great. I like that fun. I definitely need the help with the fun. I'm not sure.
The fun with the Cardinals. All right. Well, thanks for the chat today, Nick.
Pleasure. Thank you for tuning in to Humaning with a Difference.
You can find our contact details in the show notes, and happy humaning.